we're going to look at the eye. So it's important first that we re-examine the cranial nerves that we talked about in the peripheral nervous system. There are four that we're going to look at: 2, 3, 4, and 6. So 2 innervates our eyes. It's the optic, and that's about vision. The third cranial nerve is about, you can see that this is sensory, and this is motor, and it helps us move our eyes. It helps our pupil size change, and it helps our lens change. The trochlear, there are a group of muscles we're going to talk about in a few minutes that surround your eye called the extrinsic muscles. And what they do is the trochlear helps control those muscles so we can move our eyes coordinated. And the abducens, this is the one where the sixth cranial nerve, where you roll your eyes. Okay, so they go up and down, or abduction of your eyes. Okay, abduction, remember, is moving them away. Adduction is towards. So if we look at the eyeball, I'm going to just go to this picture. So what they've done is they've taken the eyeball out here. Okay, so when I look at your eye, I see about 1/6 of it. Okay, the rest is hidden in the socket. And in the posterior portion, you can see they're trying to show you some little fat here that protects our eyes. In the skull itself, there's an orbit that's created to protect it. The other thing is we have something called conjunctiva. Better picture over here. Okay, conjunctiva is the mucous membrane right here. Okay, and it's also up here, of course, and it lines the inner surface and it helps secrete mucus to protect the eye. Now, if you've ever had pink eye, that conjunctiva suddenly expands and grows into a gucky looking horrible mess. Now I'm going to go back. Okay, the lacrimal apparatus, and there's another picture coming up, is right here. And it involves a series of ducts and glands, the lacrimal gland right here, up in the outer corner of your eyes, and they drain constantly across your eye as well. They end up draining into your nose. So under normal circumstances, we just get a little bit of fluid going across our eyes, and that little bit of fluid keeps our eyes nice and moist. If we have tears, then your nose starts to run because the tears are running out of your eyes but also down into your nose. So there's little tubules right here, and they will wash across your eye and be collected in here. So how it goes is the lacrimal sac, gland up here, nasolacrimal duct. Lacrimal sac is here. So this gland produces it, nasolacrimal sac, and then the lacrimal canal into your nose, to your nasal cavity. This picture might be a little bit easier to see. So there's our gland, okay, and tears flow across. See these little tiny tubes there? They're not the eyelashes. These are the eyelashes. And it flows across your eyes, and it's collected by this, drains into this, and then eventually into your nose. So we need to talk a little bit about what helps the eye manage as well. So this structure here lubricates. It increases if we have emotional tears. In our tears, there's an enzyme called lysozyme, which helps protect our eyes. And the other thing to think about is our eyes are surrounded by muscles, a series of 6 muscles that are sort of coordinated, and so that our eyes move at the same time and produce the 6 cardinal movements of the eye. So we can look this way, down, up, and from side to side. Okay, so let's look at the eye and look at its function. So here's a good eyeball. It's cut in half, and we're gonna look at the very layers. So it has some fluid in it, but it's a hollow sphere, and there are what we call 3 coats or tunics. Same thing. Okay, sclera, choroid, and retina. Outside to inside. Okay, and we'll look at those in detail shortly. So it's filled with humors. Humors are fluids. Okay, there's vitreous humor in the back, and there's aqueous humor in the in front of the lens area here. So this keeps your lens round, and this fills the interior portion of your eye and helps maintain its shape. So the lens is in the middle, okay, and you can see it's held by a series of ligaments here and here, and that's as it um, flattens or bulges, it helps us focus. And we'll talk about how that does happen in a bit. Now, the outer coat, I'm going to go back to that. The outer coat is the sclera, and you can see it as white here. And that's all around the back. And the front portion, which sort of looks like it starts here and starts here, is the cornea. And that's like the window to your eye. And it plays a big role in light going into your eye. The remainder is connective tissue, and there are in the cornea it's transparent. There's no blood vessels in there, and then it continues as it spreads back to the sclera. The sclera serves for an attachment for the muscles, and at the back here you can see that there's an exit, and this is where the optic nerve and blood vessels come out of. The optic nerve is the second cranial nerve. The middle coat is called the choroid coat, and it's this kind of red coat in this picture. And you can see that it's rich with blood supply. In the back, so I always imagine this is kind of like carpet on the inside here. In the front, what we have is the ciliary bodies. So let's locate that. Ciliary bodies here and here, and the iris, which is the colored portion of our eyes that when you look at someone. In the choroid coat, we have a lot of melanocytes, and if you remember what melanocytes do, they have melanin in it, which is pigment, and helps us protect our eyes and keep the interior of our eye dark, which is part and parcel to vision as well. As I said, the ciliary body at the front here is a smooth muscle that helps pull on the ligaments to bulge or flatten the lens. The lens is held in place by these various ligaments, suspensory ligaments. I used to have a nice picture of that. Let me just see. And it sits behind the iris. It's kind of very elastic, and as I said, it can relax and contract depending on these ligaments. So bulge or flatten depending on what the ligaments are doing. To make the lens thicker or thinner depending on whether we're looking at short or long distances. Okay, just a different picture. We looked at the middle coat. Okay, and there's those examples of those muscles that surround the eye. I'm going to go back to the pictures because we're still working on them. As I said, the iris is a connective tissue. It's a colored portion when we look at people's eyes, when we're testing their pupils, and it's between the anterior and posterior chamber. So this is the posterior chamber, and this is the anterior chamber. Some people call it segment, same thing. We have two sets of fluids. One is vitreous, and that's in the back. That's what you see here. We mentioned them earlier. And one is aqueous, and it's in the front. And like I said, both of them are meant to create the space in our eye as well as nourish our eye. Finally, now the inner tunic. The inner tunic is the retina, and this is yellow here, okay? And this really, really is this enlarged. I'm just going to go to this picture, okay? Sorry. So imagine this is the retina here, and what it is this. Very multiple cells. Remember we talked about bipolar neurons? This is an example of where they are. and they are our visual receptors, our photoreceptors. And they really are, the optic nerve comes in here and spreads itself out to the back of the eye, and really the retina is just that. It's like a whole area. It's like a piece of rug laid in there, or a carpet or something, with all of these photoreceptors that are ready to receive light and receive vision, help us see. They take the information in the optic nerve back to the occipital cortex. Okay, now this is what happens if you could look in your eye with an ophthalmoscope. This piece here, okay, is this, okay, and that's your optic disc. That's where the optic nerve is coming out. But this piece over here is this piece here, and that's the fovea centralis, and that is the sharpest point of vision for us. Okay, we have rods and cones. Rods are dark, dim vision. Cones are sharp, daylight vision.